What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Who You Got with
Mellow.
and Rado. It's a sports podcast where we talk your favorite sports debates, sports highlights, and talk about your favorite sports matchups. What's going on, Mello?
Same old, man. Shout out to my birthday is tomorrow, November 6th. We just out here watching sports. That's actually all I wanted to do for my birthday is take some time off, watch sports, man. We got football, we got basketball, we got UFC, and we got boxing. For me, it's such a great holy grail of everything going on. And pretty much I'm just relaxing, enjoying some time off, spending time with some people I love, and obviously watching some good sports, man. What about you? What you been up to, my man?
Early birthday to you, man, for sure. And you got a great sports weekend coming up. I mean, you got some great fights coming up, obviously, like you said, NFL, NBA, and should be a great weekend for you. I know that much. Another year older, another year wiser, right?
Oh yes, and another year pretty much doing what we love to do. And this year it's we started a sports podcast, so it's the first year of many.
Hell yeah. And today we're talking about some NBA. NBA season is full swing, full effect right now. Started up in late October, and right now we're into early November, about like the first, close to the first 10 games of the season. We're watching what teams are doing. We got a lot to talk about today, right?
Oh yes, man. A couple weeks in, or a few weeks in, actually. It's been hectic already, man. A few teams looking hot that you didn't expect. A few teams looking bad that shouldn't be looking bad. Obviously, some teams just great to watch. Some rookies shining. The new rules affecting a lot of star players, so they say. Same with the new ball. So it's just a lot going on. A few weeks in, it's just already a hectic season. Just for me, I'll be honest. I'm a Celtics fan, so it's just this whole season right now. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? This shit is just wild. A lot of things need to be fixed. A lot of star players aren't getting the averages. I'm like, I'm not liking this, man. Everything right now is not the way it's supposed to be. But hey, that's NBA basketball. What I don't like, somebody else love, and obviously we still got competitive games out there. And it's good to see going in a few weeks in. It's already some real good basketball for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then, I mean, even your Celtics, I know they're giving you like heart attacks. They're making your heart race right now because you never know what you're gonna get one game from another. But even they're starting to look, starting to play good again. Obviously there's other teams that are a little bit more surprising than them. It's early in the season. Everybody knows that you don't really start the season how you finish. So we definitely gonna talk about some of these surprising teams, some teams that we didn't think they were gonna do what they did, and we should definitely go over some of the matchups of the first 2 weeks of the season and see what we had to think about it.
Basically, you know how we do. We go over a few games that we watched over the last week, talked about some of the things that we see, some of the things that we like, some of the things we didn't like. Obviously, a few questions, a few who you got on the board. And then predictions for next week, going into next week, see what games we got coming up. So we might as well just get right into it. I'm not going to lie. First game is a heartbreak for me that we got to talk about. And we pretty much just talked about not only the Celtics not having a rough start, but some teams that are having good starts that weren't expected to have a good start. So pretty much Bulls versus Celtics on the first. Oh, man, that was rough. It was a 128 to 114. Bulls win. Now, the problem with that is that going into the fourth quarter, the Celtics had a 14-point lead to end up losing the game by 14 points.
Yeah, crazy. Going into the fourth quarter, they were down by 4. Crazy. 28-point swing. That's crazy.
39-11. Was the fourth quarter scoring, and at one point it was a 10-0 run. So very stagnant offense in the fourth quarter for the Celtics. Not a lot of good shots, and the shots that were good weren't going in. I don't know. For me, that's a little worrisome because that was the problems that we had last year. Our defense held us down, but as we get younger, the defense gets a little worse. And we need to get more ball movement. And for years, we've been relying on that defense to hold us down in times that our ball movement isn't going, and our points are pretty much just not going up. So seeing that that's just another common theme this year is very depressing as a Celtics fan. But another good thing is the Bulls. They're looking freaking good this year, man. DeMar had 37 that game. Zach had 26 and 7. They got Caruso playing good coming off the bench. Your boy Ball had 12, 6, and 4, looking great starting. Yeah. They got Vucevic as well, Nikola Vucevic as well, with 12, 10, and 9 that game. Like, pretty much, they did what they had to do. Everyone played good. They're I don't even know if it's a big three, but they pretty much got 4 great players on that starting lineup that are playing the roles that they need to play. Zach and DeMar pretty much scoring where they need to score. Alonzo's doing what he needs to do. Getting a lot better playing off ball, and obviously Nicola's doing what he needs to do down in the paint. And I definitely am impressed with the Bulls. Impressed with the Bulls. Depressed with the Celtics. Just a lot. Like, it's weird because the Celtics are actually scoring. They're having decent games with certain players. Like, Brown had 28, Jason had 20 that game. Horford had 20 and 10. He's averaging like 3 blocks a game. So it's weird because the players kind of are playing what they're supposed to play. Marcus Smart at the point, that's a whole nother conversation. He had 16 that game. But clearly a blowout win by the Bulls. And I say blowout win because they pretty much blew us out in the fourth quarter. When we're up by 14. We lose by 14, that's a fucking blowout. Yeah.
I think that's a blowout as well. No, I mean, obviously coming into the season, a lot of people wanted to see what the Bulls were going to look like. They were definitely one of the most hyped teams coming into the season, getting a few free agents, coming in. And they honestly have been disappointed so far. They're all gelling very well on the Bulls. Obviously, DeRozan came in and playing with Zach LaVine, who's another scorer. They're playing very well together right now. I mean, like you said, they both scored a great amount of points. DeMar had 37, and obviously Zach had 26. So they were both scoring that game. Vucevic almost had his triple-double, like you just said. So they're playing an all-around great game with everyone they got. Even Caruso's playing amazing defense. He's averaging like 3 steals a game so far. He had 4 steals that game. So that was definitely a big thing for them. I was definitely surprised by Boston's slow start this year. I really thought that coming back from last year, they were going to figure out some things. I mean, obviously they lost Kemba and they have to figure out the point guard situation. But I mean, your backup point guard is playing really good. Dennis Schroeder, he's playing great. He had 14 points. He had like 4 assists, so he played a decent game. Overall, I thought that him coming in on the bench was good help for you guys. Also, Romeo Langford got some minutes for you guys. But for me, it was weird, just weird watching the season for Boston. Like, if you look at it, Brown is having a better season than Jason Tatum. Brown has more points and more rebounds than Jason Tatum right now. And overall, like, in his averages, and even that game, he played against the Bulls. He played a little bit better than him. Like you said, you guys were winning in the coming into the fourth quarter, but you won the whole game. Like, the whole game, you guys were pretty much up. Right. There was one time in the early second quarter that the Bulls went up for like 4 points, and then you guys, went up again and held the lead all the way up until the fourth. But that fourth quarter, man, it was a great fourth quarter for DeMar DeRozan. He had 2 threes that were definitely big threes to bring him down from 12 and then to 9 and then from 6 to 3. So those are some big threes. He usually obviously doesn't shoot threes that much. He's more known as a mid-range player, but he's starting to learn now. And I think with this type of team where there's a lot of mid-range guys, like, obviously Zach LaVine is another mid-range guy. Vucevic, he's known to like shoot a 3, but he's more of an inside presence as well. So, you're going to need some 3-point scorers. Obviously, Lonzo's not a big scorer on this team, but I think if he can step it up more and start, showing his 3-point ability a little bit more on this team and start scoring over 10 points, because right now he's averaging like just around 10. I think that Chicago could definitely show this the East something, because they came out strong this year, like surprisingly strong. And they were definitely one of the most hyped teams that people were looking at. And like I said, they didn't disappoint.
No, for sure. At this point, I know it might be so early, but I would say, hell, they're definitely going to the playoffs. Like, it's not that hard to get to the playoffs in the East.
I think too. But it's just the question if they're going to be like a top 4 team. You know, they're going to
Right,
be one
right,
of
right.
the top
That's
4.
the question. But I still think it could be what's the top 7?
It's going to be it's top 7. Yeah, they make the playoffs and then 7 through 9 make the
And
play in. But I think
right, right.
the top teams obviously Brooklyn, that's Philly right now, and I mean you could throw in Atlanta, and since last year, they played so well, and
Bucks.
Bucks, but we'll see how they do. Right now they're up and down. Obviously, they should start playing better, but they should definitely be one of the top 4 teams as well. They didn't really lose anyone from last year, so we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely a tough road in the East right now. I think.
Favor though, real quick. Can you
Up?
put some respect on the defending champions' names? How you talking about they might bro?
I'm gonna respect once they start playing like the defending champions. Like the first game of the season, they played amazing. If you saw that first game of the season, they came out like they tore up a storm. But since then they've been
weren't playing that great either.
true. That's true. I agree.
Clippers.
Oh, I definitely agree with that.
That's supposed to be making it to the finals.
I definitely agree, but a lot of those teams they're putting in new pieces, whereas like the Bucks, they still have pretty much the exact same team. You would think that they will have like a. That's the same thing with like honestly the Suns. If you look at the Suns, they were up and down this year, where you would think that since they have pretty much the same squad as last year, that they should just pick it right back up. But for some reason, some of these teams they're just not starting out strong yet. It's weird to see, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like later in the season, that's where I think the Bucks actually play better. Is after the All-Star game, they start tearing it up. That's what they did last year. They went like 17 and like 3, I think, in the last 20 games. So they tore it up the last part of the season last year. So we'll see.
Well, I feel you. Either way, obviously, 82 games, 25 weeks. It's a long season, so they got a lot of basketball for sure. But definitely let's move on to the next game. Definitely the same day, Cavs versus Hornets. That was a 113-110 win by the Cavs. Now Hornets started off real hot. LaMelo Ball's looking amazing after winning Rookie of the Year. Obviously, they got a lot of good pieces over there with Bridges, Rozier, Gordon Hayward. But pretty much when you lose the first quarter, 40-21, it's going to be hard for you to come back. Literally down by 19 in the first quarter. At that point, they pretty much lost the game by 3, and they won every other quarter besides that. But like I said, when you're down by 19, it's too much. Pretty much Sexton had 17, 7. Jared Allen did his thing with 24 and 16, two blocks or 3 blocks and 2 assists. So they pretty much came out hitting the pick and roll, finding a lot of miscommunication on Hornets defense in that first quarter. Somehow getting into that paint real early, but by the time the Hornets figured it out, it was pretty much too late. Cavs aren't something that they're not going to make any noise, but I like adding marketing. Marketing coming into the picture. He's definitely got a lot of intangibles. They're going to try to play him at the 3 a lot, but he had 21, 8, and 3 blocks with 2 steals. So he had a real good game that game. Pretty much Hornets ended up coming out in the second quarter and in the second half doing what they were supposed to do. We got LaMelo with 37 and 6, 2 steals and 2 blocks. Very lengthy and lanky at the 1. PJ had 18-4 with 2 blocks. And obviously Terry had 23, 6, 2, and 2 steals. So it was a good effort from both teams, but like I said, when you go down 40-21 in the first quarter, after that, what are you going to do about that? End up losing the game by 3, so they could have won it. Probably had a couple chances to pretty much push it, or 1 or 2 plays where you could have tied it or took the lead, but they couldn't get it done.
Yeah, they definitely tried to push it to that 1 possession game. They did it a few times in the fourth quarter, like late in the fourth. That was the only time that they were able to get that lead back, or
right.
Get the big lead that the Cavs had in the beginning. It was definitely tough for the Hornets to come back from that, like you said. But they tried it. Like there was a time in 3 minutes left that they brought it down to 2 points. That they had a chance, and then after that, the Cavs were able to. Colin Sexton actually got a 3-pointer at that time, and they were able to. That was like one of his only threes that they got, and they were able to bring it back to a 5-point game, which was significant. Obviously they lost by 3. But if you look at the first 2 quarters of the game, then you would see why the Cavs won. They're a lot bigger down in the middle. Like you said, they got even a guy like Lauri Markkanen who likes staying on the outside to, he's more of a stretch 4. He was going down low. They also got a guy named Evan Mobley, who I love, the rookie. LeBron just commented on him when they recently played Cleveland, and he said that they got a hell of a player over there in Cleveland with Evan Mobley, and I think he's playing amazing. Like, Evan Mobley's been playing a great defense, and he had 10 rebounds as well, 15 points. Obviously, Jared Allen is still on that team. He had 24 and 16, but honestly, it's going to be interesting to watch the Cavs and see what they do with Jared Allen, if they're going to possibly get rid of him because of how good Evan Mobley's been playing. I think, honestly, another guy that's been playing decent on the Cavs has been Ricky Rubio as their backup point guard. He's definitely some guy.
He's the best.
Yeah, it's definitely a guy that they needed. A backup point is something that they were definitely looking for. Obviously, they were going out there with Garland and Sexton at the 1 and 2, but they needed a backup point that can score points and also get a few assists. He's averaging 6 assists a game as the backup. That's significant for sure as a backup. So they definitely won the game on the inside. The inside presence was big for them that game. Gordon Hayward had a bad game. He only had 6 points. He didn't shoot that many threes, but his field goal percentage was 28%. He was 2 for 7. So definitely want to see him play better. Obviously, LaMelo Ball was doing work. He was doing his thing. Herro Jr., he was doing his thing as well. He came in some big minutes. They couldn't bring the lead up. They were always just a little bit behind, and that was just because the big lead that Cavs put up in that first quarter. So it was just a little bit too much for them. Basketball, it is a game of runs, and you can't come back at a certain point. But I think that this lead was just a little bit too much, that 19-point lead in the beginning. So I think that the Charlotte Hornets are definitely going to need to learn how to win these type of games, though, where they're down behind and they can come back and win from behind, because that shows definitely a maturation process on LaMelo Ball and his guys. Miles Bridges is going to need to step up big in some of these games where they're getting beat down low. That's one thing that I don't see for them is their inside presence. Right now they got Mason Plumlee as their starter, so it's going to be weird to see them play against really bigs guys like the Clippers or even the Lakers, or even when you're playing the Nets that's got bigs that they can beat you with, and obviously Cleveland has got bigs too. So that's the one thing I want to see with the Charlotte Hornets is what they do with their bigs and who's really going to start as their center. Because right now, I don't think that Mason Plumlee should be the guy.
Neither is P.J. Washington.
He's not. He's more of a power forward. He's more of a power forward to me.
Exactly. So, they definitely got a few things to figure out with both of those centers. But I don't know. I think a lot of teams are trying to go with that small ball center type. As long as you can get a board and play a little bit of defense.
They are.
But
Charlotte still got. They got him. He hasn't played because he's got an ankle injury, so he's probably gonna come back in a few weeks. Who knows? But he's definitely gonna be either their backup to to my man Mason, because they really got no one else. If you look at it, look at their roster, they got no one else that can really hold up that center position. They're really trying to play small ball.
No, definitely. I hear you. But either way, Cavs definitely came away with a good win. Hornets should have won that. They were looking very impressive start of the season, and that was one of the games that they lost that definitely should have been a game that they won. So kudos to the Cavs on taking that first quarter and taking that game. So definitely a good game to see.
Hasn't looking bad so far. It's 9 games. They're 5-4. They're not looking that bad. They got a big presence down low. They got shooters. They got guys that can score. Right now, they're playing at the 6th highest point per possession. So they're obviously scoring a lot per 100 possessions. Excuse me. So they're scoring a lot of points for every 100 possessions. So That's good. They're looking decent. I don't know how far they're going to get in the East, but right now for being 5-4, definitely got to give them some credit for the beginning of the season.
No, definitely do. And that's what I'm saying. That's one of the teams that are surprising people by playing good. But on the other end of that coin, we got teams that are surprising people by playing bad. So the next game we're going to talk about is the team that won that I'm basically talking about, but the win wasn't a good win. I'm talking about on 11-2. Pretty much on the second, we had the Lakers versus Rockets. The Lakers won by 2, 119 to 117 win. When you have your big three playing and obviously LeBron, Carmelo, AD, well, that's big four. So AD, Westbrook, and LeBron's the big three. Carmelo's the fourth. But when you have your big three playing, basically, there's no way you should barely be winning against the Rockets by 2. And that's a game that had 13 lead changes, 8 ties, and the Rockets had to blow a lead for the Lakers to win by 2. So weird because obviously, like I said, the Lakers won. Really not impressed. Actually had a chance to take it. The win, Kevin Porter Jr. missed a game-winning 3. And it's just, I don't know. The Lakers are another team like the Celtics that are just like, what are they doing this year? James had 34 and 10. AD had 27, 9, 3 with 3 blocks. And Westbrook had 27, 9, and 7. So your big three had a good game, but it doesn't seem to be cohesive. There's a lot of, same with Celtics, a lot of stagnant basketball, offense not going. Defense is kind of horrendous, honestly. Lakers defense is looking pretty trash this year. And pretty much you let a young Rockets team, like I said, 13 lead changes, 8 ties, and they pretty much had a very good chance of winning that game multiple times. On the Rockets side, you had Wood with 26, 16, and 3. You had Green looking good as a freaking rookie. 24 and 5. Oh yeah. He's doing what he wants to do pretty much with the ball in his hands. It's good to see that from such a young player because it's only going to get better and he's only going to mold. They had Jason Tate with 20 and 5, and obviously Porter Jr. with 11, 5, and 8. Like I said, he missed a game-winning 3. So that young Rockets team is definitely trying to play their heart out. Almost pretty much beat the Lakers, and the Lakers had their big three playing. So that was, to me, not a good win for the Lakers. Good game to see for the Rockets. I don't know. Lakers are troubling. Man. I don't know. What did you take away from that game, man?
Honestly, I'm going to have to totally agree with you. I totally agree with your assessment right there. It was not a good showing for the Lakers. Not at all. I mean, you said it right there. The big three played great. They both had 27, Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis, and then LeBron had 30 points. So if you look at the big three, all right, let's say the big four with Carmelo. Carmelo had 15 points that game. But look at everybody else on the roster. 2
that
points.
Should be enough to
3 points. 2 point, 7 point. Like, they're not getting no help from the bench at all. So if you got 4 guys scoring for you, 4 guys scoring pretty much 100 points. If you look at that, that's 100 points from 4 guys. Nobody else is really giving you help. It's going to be tough to win, especially when the guys on your bench are going 0 for 3, 1 for 3, 3 for 7. Like, you're not going to win a game when usually when you play like that. But they won this game because the Rockets are really the worst team in the league. I mean, them and the Detroit Pistons, if you think about it, from last year, they were, Detroit was obviously the number 1 pick. The Rockets were number 2. They should be looked at as one of the worst teams in the league right now. Like, yeah, they're playing hard, they're playing tough, but the Lakers should have won this game handily. Like, they're definitely not looking good at all. They're obviously trying to put things together. I said this from the beginning when I saw them playing in preseason. They don't look good together at all. Like, Russell Westbrook doesn't fit in at all with LeBron. It's just not the same style. Like, they both need the ball in their hands. They're both ball dominant. Russell Westbrook loves having the ball going inside and passing it out. LeBron loves doing the same thing. So it's tough for them to both get, the ball in their hands as many times. They both had the same amount of shots, 21 shots, but LeBron shot it, 62%, whereas Westbrook is shooting at 47. So there's disparity there with Westbrook. He's going to take his shots. I just want to see AD get more shots than Westbrook, though. That's what's going to help the Lakers for me. I think when AD gets,
Westbrook has to be third on that list for the Lakers to win.
I agree. I think Westbrook needs to shoot around 15 shots a game, and that's maximum. Like, if he gets around 15 shots, that'll be perfect. AD needs to get those 20 shots. Same with LeBron, So that's definitely going to make things a little bit easier for LeBron, especially because Westbrook's three-point shooting is abysmal. I don't even want to talk about it. He was 0 for 4 this game. Obviously terrible. On the other hand, you said Christian Wood. He played amazing. Christian Wood played amazing that game. He had a big game. He played really good against AD. He caught AD on a few fouls early on, so AD had to come out the game for a little bit too. Obviously, we talked about Jalen Green a little bit. We both like him as a Rookie of the Year candidate. He started out pretty slow this season, but this was definitely his coming out game against the Lakers. He played really well. He had a big three to bring it down like very close in the last 2 minutes of the game, and then he actually had a chance with the last shot of the game to tie it. He just couldn't make it because it was like a Curry range three that he was falling backwards and he shot it, but still had a chance to tie the game. So that's definitely like a good look for the Rockets. I just don't see the Rockets really doing much in the Western Conference, and that's why I'm really disappointed in watching what the Lakers are doing, because they should have handled this team by 20, and they're doing this.
Sure.
It's not good.
No, and for me, obviously it's a surprise, but at the end of the day, I just really felt in the bottom of my heart that Westbrook was not the person for them. So it's surprising to see them playing like this, but kind of not, because like obviously I know we're not basketball CEOs or managers or anything like that. But it's just like, to me, I've seen this coming a mile away.
It's from style of play. Like, you can see it. You can see the style of play.
A lot of people did, even experts. So,
I mean,
definitely.
I know that they will figure out. Like, they got to figure out the rotations. There's one thing that they can't do. They can't have Westbrook, Carmelo, and Rondo on the field at the same time. Like, all three of them in the same rotation. Like, that is not a lineup that you want, because these guys are going to be shooting in the low 40%. So that's definitely not what you want to do. You want to keep, either Rondo with LeBron, or then Westbrook coming, maybe going in with Carmelo when Carmelo's coming off the bench. I just don't think that a lineup with Carmelo, Rondo, and Westbrook is going to win.
No, yeah, they definitely got a lot of lineup issues to figure out. There's been even some talk about taking Westbrook out after the first 10 minutes and pretty much playing him with the bench. Yeah, there's so many different options. I know he won't like that, but for me, that would be the best option. Honestly, get him with the second unit. Obviously, technically, if you want to give him the first 6 and last 6, or first 10 and last 10 to make it seem like he's starting. I wouldn't even say 10. I would say 8. Like literally 6 to 8. Take him out there, because my homeboy just told me something. He was like, the first couple minutes of an NBA game are usually sloppy as hell. So allow AD to get going, allow LeBron to get going, just have Westbrook's presence in there, and then pretty much take him out after 6 to 8 minutes, and see him come back in once you pull AD and LeBron out. But who knows? Who knows what to do? But either way, the Lakers got a lot to figure out.
Logical thing to do would be to have him coming in as a 6th man, if you think about it. But a 6th man is getting like 30 minutes a game. He's never going to want to do that. It's never going to happen. But it's the logical thing to do, is have him come in as like a Bobby Jackson guy that's getting like 32 minutes a game, like Lou Williams. Obviously Lou Williams is more of just a shooter scorer, but Westbrook is a guy that would definitely help out the bench tremendously. I don't think he's going to do that, and that's probably a whole different debate to have. I think that they're going to have to figure out what they need to do with the team they got around them right now. They're going to have to figure out how to play off the ball a little bit more. Westbrook is actually, because LeBron is going to want the ball in his hands. I don't see him giving it up as much. No,
definitely. They got a lot to figure out early on, but that 119-117 win was not that impressive.
Not at all. Lakers aren't looking good. Like early in the season, they're having trouble. Obviously, they came out with that 0-6 preseason record, and they're not showing anything better so far.
Right. No, they're looking pretty bad in all categories, and who knows what's coming from them next. But they definitely got a lot of lineup things to figure out for sure. That's probably their biggest priority. So let's move on to the next game. This was a game that was on the 3rd. It was a good game. 108-106 win by the Grizzlies against the Nuggets. Nuggets is trying to figure life out without Murray. They're not doing too bad, but this is one of the games I wanted to talk about because basically Murray was their game closer. And that's basically what they're missing. Down the stretch, they don't really know who to rely on. You can always double Jokic, and then Jokic, without the ball in his hands, has to give to somebody who pretty much isn't always most consistent in getting that shot off. So Grizzlies ended up winning by 2. Another reason why I chose this game because on the other side of that coin, Grizzlies are showing that they do have a closer in Ja Morant, and pretty much he's pretty much elevating his game every year to another level. This year, he's looking absolutely amazing. At this point, they made a playoff tournament last year. I think I can give them a decent seeding in the West this year, especially the way some of the other teams are playing because they're going to win these close games if you give them a chance to. It was tied at 102 with 3 minutes left. And pretty much, like I said, Nuggets don't have a closer. Grizzlies do. Pretty much they came out and did what they're supposed to do. Jaren Jackson Jr. had 22 and 8 with 3 blocks. Obviously, Morant had 18, 6 and 6 with 3 steals. Pretty much doing what he's supposed to do. He's not a volume scorer when he don't need to be. The rest of the team kind of did what they were supposed to do. Bennett and Anderson had 16 each. But basically, the Grizzlies was their grit and grind. Like that's their motto. That's what they want to do. That's what they're supposed to do, according to how their team does things. And pretty much they continue to do things. And it's crazy because they've been doing like that for over a decade. They're one of the franchises that pretty much enforce that into their culture. And they're definitely taking advantage of it. So it's definitely good to see.
Yeah, they definitely were the enforcers back in the day too. Remember Zebo, Zach Randolph? He was definitely that type of dude. Jaren Jackson actually reminds me a little bit of him. If you really look at him, other than the shooting, because Zebo was never a shooter, but Jaren Jackson does have that inside presence. Obviously, not as big as Zach Randolph.
Right. No, Jaren Jackson Jr. is definitely able to stretch out, but he definitely is good defensively. But he's because like I'll be honest, like Jokic, I had 34, 11, and 5. So pretty much, and he's not even a real aggressive scorer down there. So I wouldn't consider him technically Zebo. But the Grizzlies just do what they have to do.
He's not the center there though. Jackson he still plays the power forward position more than Steven Adams. So like
yeah.
So I mean, they're trying to put him in there more, but he's playing like definitely like Randall played last year. Randall, was a presence down low where he would do a lot of post up, but then he would also come outside and shoot like at least 5 threes a game. And that's one thing that I'm liking about Jaren Jackson. He was 5 for 9 for 3-point this game, and they needed that for sure because in the fourth quarter, it looked like they were pretty much gonna lose it, honestly, because the Nuggets kept on coming back. They started taking the game over a little bit. They were winning by 6 with like 6 minutes to go, and Jaren Jackson got 2 threes in a row actually to bring it back a tie game. Ja Morant had an amazing 360 layup in this game. It was literally like one of those highlights that you're gonna see for the rest of the season. It was a beautiful thing to watch. I'm loving his game right now. If you look at like the start of the season, like just the first week of the season, I know he didn't have the points in this game, but I think he was probably the first week MVP. He was averaging like 37 points a game. He's playing amazing, definitely playing incredible, definitely stepping it up. A guy like Jokic was playing great in this game as well. Like you said, his presence is obviously known. You know what he can do. He's a triple double machine when he wants to be. He can obviously get those 30-point games easily. I think that you're right that they're missing Murray a little bit because they need another 3-point presence. Aaron Gordon is more of a mid range shooter. Obviously, Michael Porter is trying to be that 3-point shooter, but he was 0-3 for this game.
He's so inconsistent. He had 12 and 11. Like when your second best scorer is Willie Barton with 26, you're not. What
There's gonna be a problem. I think
exactly.
Porter needs to step it up. He needs to start shooting more. I mean, he's getting the minutes, so he's getting like they're giving him the ball, but Will Barton shot the ball 21 times to Michael Porter 12. So I mean, that shows you right there who's a little more of the alpha on that team right now. They definitely need a little more scoring.
The ball 21 times to get 26 points. That's not efficient at all.
Not at all. But it's also not good to see Michael Porter shooting 0 from 3 or like 0 for 3 from 3. It's not good to see because last year he was like 51% at the 3.
Yeah, he's one of the players that's 3-point percentage dropped dramatically this year.
Dramatically, like literally did for sure. So I'm definitely worried a little bit about the Nuggets. I want to see what happens when Murray comes back. They're saying he's going to come back in a month. By then, are the Nuggets going to be like in the midst of it in the Western Conference, or they're going to be out of the playoffs at that point? They'd probably be out of it at the time, but I think with Murray, they'll be able to come back. So I think they're going to have a lot of trouble in this first like month and a half of the season.
Hey, no, it's the West, man. You got a lot of hard matchups, a lot of grit and grind matchups that are pretty much against teams that are pretty much not that much worse or not that much better than you. So when you got these close games and you're missing your go-to guy, it's gonna be a rough going.
That's for sure. They need him back.
No, they definitely do.
But yeah, that was definitely a good match. And there was another matchup that same night.
Yes, sir.
That was a good matchup between two teams that are big state rivals, obviously, and big historic franchises. The Dallas Mavericks versus San Antonio Spurs. That was it was a close game. It was 109-108 matchup to the Spurs. It was definitely close. And if you look at it, San Antonio was winning, the game like late in the fourth quarter. They were winning by 5, but luckily, Dallas was able to come back and win because they had a big 3-pointer from Tim Hardaway Jr. who hit it in the backboard. It was like with 28 seconds left, so they were able to come back and push that win. I thought that Dallas Mavericks played a little bit inconsistent the first few games of the season, and they showed the same thing this game. Even if you look at look at Doncic. He had 23 points, and he was terrible at shooting 10 for 25. He was 3 from 12 from 3. You don't want to see that from Doncic. Definitely playing inconsistent. Yeah, he had 12 rebounds. He had 7 assists. You just don't want to see that from him. And obviously, Jalen Brunson had to come in as the backup, and he played amazing. Played incredible, 31 points, did his thing. He had assists too, did a few assists, and he had 10 rebounds as well, had a double-double for himself. So he definitely played great. You definitely want to see that from him because they're going to need that later in the season. Obviously, Doncic is not going to play that terrible every game, so we'll definitely see this team probably step it up a little bit more. I do want to see what happens when they get back. My man, the unicorn. I want to see what happens when they get him back. But right now, without him, they're having trouble on the inside. They're not getting much help from the inside. Obviously, they had to get Boban out there, who actually played amazing as a backup center.
He had a great game, 17 and 5. What a block!
But yes, he's a backup center, and he's not going to be doing that every time. I just don't see that. So they're going to need to get some help from their big guys. Willie Cauley-Stein didn't play good at all. They're going to need some help from him. When they don't have, Kristoff, they're going to need some more presence on the inside. And right now I'm not seeing it from them. Obviously, San Antonio, they're playing pretty consistent right now. If you look at it, they're playing pretty good. Kevin Eubanks has been playing amazing for them. He had an amazing block in this game too, and I think that he's definitely one of the most improved players of this year. I would say, like second year player coming in. He's definitely one of the most improved. Also, they're getting big help from Murray, so I think that's going to be big for them. I do like what I'm seeing from San Antonio. They got a good young team, a good young squad. I don't know how far they're going to get in the playoffs this year. They were close last year to getting that ninth spot or whatever it was, but it didn't pan out for them. But we'll see this year. I think they got a young squad that could possibly make some noise, but I don't see them being better than a 10th seed this year.
Yeah, no, they're looking better than advertised, but they're pretty much going to be middle of the pack for sure. But I feel like the key to this game was just how average the Mavs were as well. Like you said, 23, 12, and 7 from Doncic, so that should be a decent game. But when you got the ball in your hands a lot of times and then you're not as effective with it, it doesn't allow for your team to pretty much get the ball moving going. Brunson had to come in, drop 31, 10, and 3. Pretty much, they had to ride. Like it's weird because Luka had 23 and 12 and 7, but they basically had to ride Brunson's back for that win. Boban obviously did his thing. Hardaway hit that 3, had 20 other points to go with it. So he did his thing as well, but it's the ball's too much in Luka's hands. And for him to have that ball in his hands that much in a game where he only scores 23 points, that's an issue, especially if he's not looking to get as many assists as possible. Like I know like assists is not that hard to get or not that easy to get, but it's also not that hard. Because when you have the ball in your hand a lot, it's easy. Like, like Russell Westbrook getting his triple doubles. Like I understand he was getting 10 assists, but my man was also getting so many turnovers because he was ineffective with the ball in his hand. Because when you have the ball that much in your hands, 10 assists will come. So Luka definitely had to do a little bit better.
Side that pass it outside, for guys to shoot. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and obviously, like I said, Spurs are a little bit better than advertised. Murray's doing great this year. I feel like him and Keldon Johnson are playing real well together. Keldon had 16 and 6. Murray had 23, 9 and 8, almost a triple double with 2 steals. Vassell had 21. White had 19. Great team basketball. Just lost that game. And pretty much, without Porzingis, it all comes down to what was Doncic willing to do to win games, and he can win games. But it didn't work tonight, or it did work tonight, but it's just something that is not going to work in a playoff series. And it always comes down to they can win games. They can win games, but they can't win series. And he can win series by himself, but he can't get to a finals by himself. He definitely can't get to a finals doing that. He could do his Luka magic, but if teams are able to kind of corner in on that, and you don't want to give up the ball, your team is gonna. This is one that they could have lost, like you said. The ball went off the backboard, so this is not a good showing for the Mavs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. I definitely want to see what happens when they get Kristaps back and into the rotation. It's going to be interesting, but I totally agree with you. As of right now, like the Mavs they can't do it by themselves. Luka can't do it by himself on the Mavs. He needs a little bit more help. Obviously, this game he had Brunson, but Brunson's not usually a guy that averages like 25, 30. He's a guy that gets 15 points and he'll get you some rebounds and some assists, but that's what you can count on him for. And you're going to need your scorers to be Doncic and Tim Hardaway and Kristaps when he comes back. And hopefully when he does come back, their record is decent, because right now they're actually playing pretty decent in the West.
Right.
I'm going to be interested to see what happens with them, because we saw what happened last year when they were in the playoff series and Kristaps went out. Doncic, he won a game by himself, but he can't win a series by himself. I just don't see that.
No, definitely. I mean, he could win a series or two against random teams when you face these tough competition teams deep in the playoffs, especially in the West. You're not coming out with a ring.
That's for sure. I mean, the West is tough. The West is tough this year. That's for sure. And I mean, it's definitely a good recap on most of the games of especially the popular games of the last few weeks. It was definitely good. It's good that we were talking about like some top teams in the West because I wanted to get into like some questions about the NBA season. You want to get in some questions?
Oh yes, of course, of course. We gotta pull up a couple who you got. Got a few questions this week. Obviously, a few weeks into the NBA. Obviously, people are starting to wonder what's going on with certain teams. So, first question I got: who you got? Top pick for teams that are surprisingly hot. Now, a couple of our choices are Chicago, Warriors, Hornets dropped a few, but they were pretty much hot. And the Jazz, Chicago 6-2, Warriors 6-1, Jazz 7-1. Like I said, Hornets dropped a few recently, so they're 5-4 now. But who you got? Top pick for teams that are surprisingly hot.
Oof, that's a good one. That's a good one. There's definitely been some surprises this year in the NBA, and we talked about like Chicago a little bit, so we definitely got to chat about them a little bit. I like that. But honestly, out of who you gave me, I mean, even though you got to give a little bit to the Warriors too, I just think that the Utah Jazz right now, the fact that they came out 7-1, I know that a lot of people had a lot of hope for them this year. They're looking at them as a pretty decent team in the West. But you got teams like, the Phoenix Suns who were just in the finals. You got teams like the Lakers, teams like the Clippers, even Portland, who a lot of people thought were going to be those top teams, especially starting out, coming into the season. A lot of people had obviously the Lakers probably number one really early, and for the Jazz to come out and be 7-1, 5-0 in their conference, and right now they're just playing lights out. They're outscoring people by 10 points, 111 to 101 points. They're outscoring everybody. Their defense is amazing. Obviously, they have the reigning defensive player of the year in Rudy Gobert, who's still playing amazing. He's still doing work, getting like 20 and 10, easily 20 and 12 almost, getting like with two and a half blocks. They're playing really good. Obviously, they're getting help from Mike Conley this year. He's stepping it up even more than he did last year. And that's going to be a big help for them throughout the whole season. And they're getting a lot of help from Jordan Clarkson as well. Jordan Clarkson is playing very consistent, getting 16 points a game right now. So he's definitely helping them out on the bench. He's probably, as of this point, in this moment, probably the sixth man of the year in the first few weeks of the season. If you look at his stats, he's definitely helping them out. They're just outright beating guys and beating them big. And for that reason is why I'm surprised, because I did think that they were going to be a decent team in the mix, probably around 4, 5, and 6. But I just never thought that they were going to come out this strong, this hot. So that's why I got them as my surprising team. Who you got, though? Who's your surprise?
So you did make a lot of great points, but here's why I'm not surprised about the Jazz. We got Donovan Mitchell, who's a dog.
True.
Reigning MVP or defensive player of the year. And
True.
you already had a team with two people that were six-man candidates.
True.
A team that already made the playoffs. So for me, that's not a surprise, especially with the Lakers and the Clippers not playing good. Jazz was clearly the next best option for the best team. For me, the surprise is the team sitting right behind them at 6-1, and that's the Warriors. Ain't no way in hell that the Warriors should be sitting in second place with wins over the Lakers and Clippers. Came out opening night swinging, next night swinging. Now that's three away games that they won, including against those two teams I mentioned, and they lost. One game they lost was a close loss by 3 against the Grizzlies. So literally, you got a team who probably not even Now, mind you, they don't have Clay yet. They don't have Wiseman. Pretty much they got Curry, Draymond, Wiggins, and Poole. And that's not a team that's supposed to be second in the East, only losing one game, and that one game they lost by 3. They are 111 points per game, 45%, 38 from the 3, 74 from the free throw. They are fourth in rebounds, first in assists, and they're pretty much third in plus minus at a 9.9. Man, you got Curry with a 26, 7 and 7, Draymond with 9, 9 and 7, Wiggins with 16 and 4, Damian Lee with 14 and 3, and Jordan with 16 and 3. Pretty much, the supporting cast is doing what it's supposed to do. The big men are holding the fort down where they need to. Everyone's doing what it's supposed to do, and Curry's having another great year. Where other scorers are having a shooting slump because of the ball and the rules, Curry seems to have figured it out, and he's doing what he's supposed to do. On top of getting 7 rebounds and 7 assists as well. So the Warriors sitting at 6-1, definitely for me is who I got as a surprisingly hot team.
It's not a bad pick at all, bro. That's a great pick. They're definitely surprising people, that's for sure. I mean, I had Steph Curry as my MVP, so I knew that he was going to come out hot. You know, he just was coming out on the warpath because no Clay for the first, half of the season. He's probably going to come back January, so they're going to need him to come back. But they got some dogs on that team. I mean, you definitely talked about most of them, but they even got Jonathan Kuminga, who's playing really good right now as a rookie. He's definitely stepping it up, showing what he's got as a rookie. Obviously, Kevon Looney's doing work for them too, but the reason why I got Utah is just the teams that they've beaten too. I mean, they came out early in the season. They beat the Bucks twice already. They came out, they beat the San Antonio Spurs. They just beat Atlanta Hawks by 20 points. So they're coming out and they're beating like playoff teams, and obviously the champions they're beating twice already. So early in the season, they're outright like beating them by 20 points or more most of the time. Like, yeah, I said their average is 10 points, 111 to 101, but sometimes they're just coming out hot early in the start. Their average for their first quarter is 32 points per quarter for the first quarter. And this only in 8 games, but that's pretty significant. 32 points in the first quarter. When you come out hot like that, then you know that your team is definitely shooting the ball pretty good. And you've named off who they had. Obviously they got Donovan Mitchell, who's definitely one of the best shooters right now in the NBA, I would say, along with my man Damian Lillard and obviously Stephen Curry. I would say those are the 3 top shooters right now in the moment. I forgot about KD. Sorry, I can't leave him off that list too. But anyways, they definitely have the players, but the fact that who they're beating and how they're beating them is what's surprising to me. Like, I definitely saw them being up, but right now they're number 1, where people thought that the Lakers were just going to, start tearing people up in this NBA. Some people in Vegas had the Lakers at like 67 wins this year, and I don't think that that's going to happen anymore.
Not even close. But no, either way, both of those are the top 2 teams in the West, and neither one expected them to be top 2 teams in the West going through, even if it is 3 weeks in the season.
You could definitely talk me into the Warriors. It's definitely a team that's been surprising, though. You could definitely talk me into them being the most surprising for sure.
No, man, they're trying to stop Curry with all their might, and the rest of the team is doing what they're supposed to do finally.
Yeah.
So, next question up. It's about a team pretty much as we talked about what should be the worst 2 teams in the NBA, the Rockets and the Pistons. But let's talk about the actual worst team in the NBA right now, which is the Pelicans, sitting at 1-8. No Zion right now. Can the Pelicans make the playoffs with such a slow start? That's the question. Can they make the playoffs?
Damn. So right now they're 1-8. Oh, that's terrible. Like, and I mean, look who they got on their squad. They got Brandon Ingram. They got Devontae Graham. Like, They got guys on their squad that can play. Obviously, right now Zion is not playing. We get that. He would be a huge help for them if he was playing. That's for sure. But they're losing to teams like Sacramento by 15 points. Like they're just not playing well at all. They're not scoring the ball well. Out of the 9 games, they've had 6 of them under 100 points. They've scored under 100 points. So that's really terrible. Like when you can't score points, you're not going to win games, and it's bad to see them being inconsistent in scoring right now, especially Brandon Ingram's having a lot of trouble right now, even scoring the ball. He's definitely taken a regression from last season. And looking at it, depends on when Zion's getting back. Some people say like in a few weeks, some people say in a month. And it's not looking good for them so far. So honestly, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think that they lost their chance right now at 1-8 already. I think that they're not going to come back from that too much. What do you think? You got them in the playoffs?
It's an easy no for me. I don't even have to talk about who they got, what they can't do. At this point, if they get Zion back in a month, it's not even a good guarantee that he stays all season to begin with. My man's looking like they said, looking like Charles and Shaq fucking had a baby. I don't know what's going on over there.
Like me and Shaq had a baby.
Yeah, man. I don't know. My man's wobbling the fuck over everywhere. Not looking too good. Even if he comes back, apparently he's full contact, but still, like he's just not looking too good. He's not going to be in good form, and then if they're going to have to ride him to even get basically to where they want to get, it's going to cause them more injuries. But on top of that, let's just talk about what has to happen for them. So you said they already like top 5 in the West. It's clearly going to be Suns, Jazz, Clippers, Nuggets, Mavs. At this point, I can't even put the Lakers in there because they got a lot of shit to figure out. But then we got right, but that's top 5. Top 4 after that, which is basically top 9. So the 4 after that, which are still going to be in the mix, making good playoff push, is obviously Lakers, Blazers, Warriors, and Grizzlies. That's top 9 right there, and I still haven't put in the Spurs or Kings, which probably going to have better seasons than the Pelicans. Now, Pelicans have no chance right now. Not even a fighting chance.
No fighting chance. You're right, and it's really looking bad for
the first pick. Keep Zion out for the season. Try to get another top pick to go with him and Brandon Ingram, and that's that. Literally, I know it sounds fucked up, but at this point, the season's already over.
Quick follow-up question: do you think Zion's gonna stay? Like watching how bad they're doing, do you think he's gonna want to try to go somewhere, try to get traded somewhere? I mean, or the next year would be his last year on the contract, his 4th year. So. Either this year, do you think, like at the end of this year, will they trade him?
Nah, they're not going to trade him. Nah, not after what they did to AD. Like I said, at this point, they might have the best option of just tanking and say, hey, at least you got Brandon Ingram. Let's get you another player, maybe a guard. And then at that point, they're saying, hey, at least we got you the help. Let's see what we can do. And then, they won't trade him.
That draft Chet Holmgren number 1 and call it a day. Get Zion and Chet on the same squad. Oof. That might
Brandon.
It might be nice to see.
I gotta look into more, see who's actually declared and who's declaring to get a good picture of this next draft.
Saga, definitely check him out.
Yeah, I already know who that is. So yes, at this point, 100% hard no, and at this point, it's probably like a 1% chance. Like, just get it over with. It's over.
Honestly, totally agree with you. I don't think that they're going to trade him because like you said, what happened with AD, they want to keep a generational type of talent on their squad, and I think they might want to push for that.
Him to help. They got Brandon Ingram already. They got a decent big man to go with him to try to help him take the load off down low. All they need is to tank and get a good fucking pick, and they're at that point, that's a lot better than what fucking they gave AD.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. There's more help than they gave AD for sure. Yeah.
So at that point, let him rock and see what he could do. But at this point, he probably should go on the IR for the rest of this year. really work on his game, like pull a Joel Embiid type shit, or pretty much take a year off and come back a whole nother person. Because a lot of people forget Joel Embiid came out of college just being a defensive star, and all the years with injuries and taking off, he just somehow just literally created a prolific offensive game and came back from injury with moves we never seen before. So I think they have a good chance of striking Zion. It's different, but he can create. So here's my thing: he's not as tall, but you're not going to tell me that Charles Barkley didn't shine in an era full of big men.
But he's not even like Charles. I think he's way more explosive than Charles, and that's my issue. Is because he's so explosive. His injury, like with his knees, with his ankles, like when you're jumping so high, when you're getting rebounds like that, and playing so explosive, like you have way more problems being injury prone.
And that's why he needs to honestly just take this year off, get into better shape, and work on his post game and footwork. And really, because there's going to be a lot of power forwards that he's going to be stronger than and can really, bully ball down there as long as he can get his game going and not rely on his brute strength. So I think that's the best option they have this year. But I don't think he's going anywhere. The Pelicans I feel like they're going to do a little bit better this time around on getting him what he needs.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely agree with you there.
For sure. All right.
Team that's not doing good at all. The Pelicans. We wanted to ask another question real quick, right? About the most underwhelming teams.
Yes, another who you got. Last question of this episode. Who you got? Obviously, we did a top pick for teams that are surprisingly hot. So, who you got? Top pick for teams that are surprisingly bad. Top choices basically are Celtics at 4 and 5, Lakers at 5 and 4, and Clippers at 3 and 4. Who you got?
So, I mean, looking at all those teams, none of them have been playing great. Obviously, like you said, if you look at like who had more things that they needed to figure out, was probably the Lakers. Lakers had the most to figure out. They had the most, free agents coming in. So, to me, even watching the preseason, I kind of knew that they were gonna come out a little bit slower. So I wasn't as surprised by them. But for me, it's got to be the Clippers, to be honest. Boston Celtics are still figuring out the point guard situation, so I kind of understand what they're doing there. But the Clippers right now, they're not looking great. And one reason is that Kawhi didn't play. He only played like 2 out of the 7 games that they played so far. So that's definitely not something that is good for them. They're going to need more help from him. Paul George was playing. He's been playing decent. He hasn't been playing like off the charts like he did in the playoff push last year. But, if you look at them, they're having trouble rebounding the ball. They're 29th in rebounds. They're having trouble scoring points. They're 20th in points. So that's one thing that they're going to need to figure out. They're going to need more help from Marcus Morris Sr. I just think that the way that they're losing isn't good. Like they're getting scored on a lot more than, and that's worrisome for me because last year they were in the top 10 of scoring, and now they're in the bottom 20 of scoring. So I definitely need to see once Kawhi comes back what they can do. But as of right now, they're definitely the most underperforming team, the most surprising underperforming team. Because I thought even without Kawhi, they could easily be a top 6 team in the West without Kawhi. And with him, they're top 3, top 2.
Okay, so I didn't choose them for a simple choice, or for the simple fact that Kawhi is not fully there, and because they've always had a decent bench. They're pretty deep for NBA teams when it comes to actually having skilled players that are role players and veterans, and not just a couple rookies and just random people here and there. So I definitely might be biased, but this shit is unacceptable. Hell no, should the Celtics be 4 and fucking 5 right now? And it's not even the fact that they're 4 and 5; it's the way that they're playing. It's fucking atrocious, man. Right now they are 0 and 3 at home, with 2 and 5 in the East.
That's bad.
And it's crazy because you got our 2 stars having decent seasons. Average-wise, 27-6 with 24-8. That's Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. But like you said earlier, Jalen Brown seems to be having a better season. Jason Tatum seems to be a little bit missing shots that it's just his shot selection, of course, is in question again. It's crazy though because we really got Horford with 14, 10, and 3 blocks.
Playing
Williams
great.
with 8. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got Horford playing amazing on both sides of the ball. Like you said, Smart at 8 and 4 with Shorter coming off the bench with 13 and 6. So with your stars and your top role players, honestly, like I didn't expect Smart to have much on offense going into we just needed someone who can
For
play
3-and-D guy.
defense. Exactly. But he's once again shooting like 25%, I think, close to it right now. And obviously having Shorter, having that point average and assist average of 13 and 6 coming off the bench is amazing. It's real good numbers. Obviously Time Lord and Robert Williams with 10 and 8 coming off the bench as well. Sometimes they give him a start depending on, injuries and COVID and stuff. So it's crazy that a team like that is just giving up games and only 4 and 5, and they've given up games to teams that it's the East, and there's some easy teams that we played that we've lost to that we should never lost, and that's my whole point with the Clippers and Lakers. They're facing more difficult competition, and gave away some games, including that 14-point lead against the Bulls that we should never give away. It took us a freaking overtime to win against the Hornets. For some reason, like I said, our stagnant offense and our offensive troubles with getting the ball movement are still continuing this year, and it's completely frustrating. Not only as an NBA fan, but as a Celtics fan especially. Right now they're averaging 111, 43%, 32% at the 3, with 78 at free throw. Just not doing what they're supposed to do. Coach Yu got a lot to figure out. First year coach. I don't know. They've got a lot to figure out. But for me, that's who I got for my pick on top team that's surprisingly bad is 100% my Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have been playing like the most consistent this year. I definitely agree with you. But I mean, they had some tough games, man. Like especially first game of the season, they looked really good against the Knicks, and obviously it was a overtime thriller. It went down to the second overtime, and they lost by 4 points. I mean, that's a lot of people thought they should have won. There was another one that they lost to the Washington Wizards. They only lost by 3 points. So there's a couple.
As well.
There's some games they could have won. Obviously, we talked about that game against the Bulls that they probably should have won as well. And if you look at that, sometimes when you lose these type of games, it's definitely disappointing because like these are the type of games you should win against a team like the Wizards. You should definitely win that game. Against a team like the Bulls, you shouldn't give up that much of a run. Not 28 points in the last quarter. So they definitely are inconsistent in defense, and that's one thing I thought that they were going to play better in this year. I thought that their defense was going to be a lot better with your coach. So
right.
I could definitely see why they're playing underwhelming. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Brown though. Brown is playing amazing himself. I think he's definitely stepping it up for them, and it's good to see him play like that. Same with Schroeder. You talked about Schroeder. He has like 14 and 6. That's pretty good for a bench player. So there's definitely hopeful things to see from the Celtics. Like there's hope on the horizon. I think they're losing some close games, but those are winnable games, and they should probably like start winning some of those. The average is going to go in their favor, and they'll start winning some of those games. So I could see them stepping it up sooner rather than later.
Hey, I hear you, but they got a lot to figure out. I think they can. I think they can still be middle of the pack in the playoffs and make a decent playoff push. I don't know, but it's just rough to see right now.
I'm even a little bit more hopeful than you about your team, bro. I think that they're a top 3 team to me. I think it's Nets, 76ers, and I think you guys are going to be number 3 this scoring, man, and Kemba Walker. So you needed to figure out that point guard position. But give it a few more weeks, and I think you guys will go on a few runs because you have the talent. Like you got two guys that are scoring over 26 points a game, 27 points a game almost. You guys definitely got the talent that could take you to the promised land, I think.
So where are the Bucks in all this? That's what I'm confused.
The Bucks got a lot to figure out now. The Bucks are another team that are semi-underwhelming. You know, they're only 5-4 right now.
We still think we could place above the Bucks in the playoffs?
Honestly, it could be like one of those things that's like a hangover from the, you know, like they have an NFL hangover from the Super Bowl. It might be a hangover from the NBA Finals. I don't know. Some teams have that. I mean, even the Suns are having that right now. If you look at that, if you look at the standings, you know, nobody's really consistent at the moment as far as like teams, the top teams, you know, from last year. You know, other than the Utah Jazz, I guess you can say, nobody's really as consistent as they were last year coming in. You know, yeah. I mean, look at the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are 4-5 this year. They were in the, you know, Eastern Conference Finals last year. So, you know, there's definitely some things that some teams need to figure out. But I think that you guys have definitely two of the top 15 players in the league, and when you have that, that pretty much beats a lot of the guys in the East.
Yeah. No, yeah. I definitely hear you, but we got a lot of defensive things to figure out. And if we can't keep our offense from not going stagnant, then we're not going to go anywhere. Like last year, we basically barely got to the first round.
Yeah, for sure. But, I mean, obviously, Brown was injured towards the end of the season.
True. For sure. But I don't know, man. You keep disrespecting the Bucks, so
I am. I'm not liking what I'm seeing from them either, to be honest. Giannis is playing good, but nobody else is playing consistent for him. You know, Drew Holiday looks like he took a step back. You know, they definitely need some more help. Middleton is not shooting as consistent. He's at like around 45%. Last year he was at like 50. So they need some things to figure out.
That's crazy because I disagree. And it's, you know, I'll be honest. Listen, those are our three questions for the day. A couple who you got, and obviously talk about the Pelicans. Pretty much talk about the top teams that are bad, top teams that were good. Some of them, you know, surprisingly. Most of them surprisingly, actually. That's what we did. Surprising, not surprising bad. But I just want to take this Buck talk and just hop right into next week's game. So that's pretty much what we're going to start off with. Talking about next week's game. And the first one on the list is honestly the game tonight versus the Knicks and Bucks. And
yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about because like Giannis is getting you 27, 10, and 6 right now to start off the season. Yeah, they're not playing the greatest, but Middleton's giving you 24 and 4. Drew got 14 and 3. Grayson Allen got 11 and 4, and then also they pretty much got Brook Lopez getting just under 10 and 10, pretty much doing what he's supposed to do, and your boy Pat Covington with 11 and 5. So I don't know how you keep disrespecting them so much because I think this is going to be like a 119 or 113 win by the Bucks, man. It's going to be a close game because the Knicks pretty much, like, Randall's doing his thing and he's not going to back away from Giannis. I said Giannis got 27, 10 and 6. Randall got 20, 11 and 6. Yeah, he got less points, but a lot of role players on the Knicks are stepping up this year, especially two of the ones they added, like Fournier and Walker. Yeah. Fournier is averaging 16. Walker got 13 and 3. Barrett's coming into his own more with 19 and 5. And then obviously you got D Rose coming off the bench with 11. So you got a Knicks team that's young and hungry, doing what they're supposed to do. That's why I picked this game because it's going to be a good matchup. Obviously, both in the East, more than likely, both going to be in the playoffs again. Randall versus Giannis is always good because neither one steps down. They're both two players that take it from the high post and do a little bit of everything for their teams. But I still think that the Bucks actually got role players that are doing what they're supposed to do, man. Grayson Allen and Pat Covington stepping up this year behind Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton is actually surprising to me. They're both getting over 10 a game right now early on in the season. Brook Lopez is doing what he's supposed to do in the low block, getting boards and obviously staying out on the 3, allowing for Giannis to go in. So I don't know. It's just I still think they're definitely top 2 in the East. I don't know where the disrespect is coming from because you won't even. And I agree, Bleem, but ain't no way in hell that you could put them below the Celtics right now. They're defending champs, coming back with the same team, and you got 5 people on that team averaging double digits right now. What are you talking about?
They're averaging double digits, but here's where I'm coming from. Is yeah, they could be averaging that, but their shooting percentage is terrible. So right now they're 27th in the league in 3-point percentage, shooting 33% per game. And we're going to talk about this game. The Knicks are shooting 39%, so they're definitely shooting a lot better at the 3-point. Overall, Giannis is shooting 27% from the three. You don't want to see that. Middleton is not even shooting that good from the two. He's only at 46%, where last year he was around 50%. They're not getting enough assists. They're in the lower half in assists. They're lower 25 in assists. Their defense is not as good as it was last year. They're not getting consistent blocks from Giannis and Brook Lopez like they were last year. So they definitely took a step back from last year. There's no way around it. They took a step back. Like, yeah, Giannis still has his stats. He's getting amazing stats, 27.4 and 10 and a half rebounds. That's beautiful. That's what you want to see. But the way that they're losing games is critical. Like this is a 3-point shooting league. Everyone likes to shoot the three. That's how they win. That's how you lose. You win by the three, you lose by the three. Right now, they're losing by the three. They're shooting it, but they're not making it consistently. And that's definitely concerning. Obviously, Giannis is never known to be a 3-point shooter, but he will go out there and shoot them at like 35%. Right now, he's shooting at 27. Drew Holiday is underperforming right now, shooting at 36%. So it's concerning to me. Honestly, like just looking at the Knicks, they don't have as many 3-point shooters on their squad either. Evan Fournier is a 2-point scorer. Derrick Rose is a 2-point scorer. Kemba Walker is known to shoot a three a little bit more. So yeah, you got him, and yeah, you got Randall, who's going to be a guy that can come out. But other than that, you don't have as many 3-point shooters. And if you look at their percentages and how many threes they shoot per game, New York Knicks shoot 16 threes per game compared to the Bucks at 13. So it's gonna be an issue for them. I think this game I actually have Knicks winning. The Knicks are playing a little bit more consistent on the inside block with Randall right now. Randall is still getting his points, 20 and 11. He's doing work down low. Like you said, Evan Fournier is playing really well. I love what Derrick Rose is from the bench role right now. He's still doing work this late in his career. So for that, I think that this is a New York Knicks win, to be honest. I think that they're going to win this probably like 116, 110, 6-point game.
Okay. Yeah, I actually I got mine as a 6-point game, but the Bucks winning 119, 113. So
Okay.
yeah. Either way, both analyses are good. Both teams playing pretty decent right now. And honestly, both teams playing pretty even. Bucks playing a little less than what they should. Knicks playing a little over than what they should. So that's why I think it's going to be still a close game, good matchup. Randall versus Giannis is obviously always a great matchup. So that's definitely a game I'm excited to see for sure.
Yeah, good matchup for the East, and definitely a playoff matchup, a big playoff matchup for the season.
Oh yeah. Next game I want to talk about is obviously your top pick for the team in the West for surprise. So they're doing work going up against a team that got pretty stacked in the offseason in the East. Jazz versus Heat. That's tomorrow night, 11-6 on Saturday. Pretty much it's going to be another tough, grit and grind game. I will agree. Jazz is looking pretty good right now, so I do think that the Jazz is going to walk away with this, 120 to 114. But the Heat are no scrubs right now. Picking up Lowry on the offseason, they got pretty much a little tougher. They got PJ Tucker to come in to play a little bit more defense. They're one of the best defensive teams right now, not just in the East but in the league. You got Butler doing 25, 7, and 5. Adebayo giving you 20 and 13. Lowry giving you 10, 4, and 7. Hero is doing what he's supposed to be doing with 22, 6, and 4. A lot of people are happy what he's producing this year after a little bit of a lackluster season last year. And then obviously Duncan Robinson can still shoot the lights out, giving you 10 points right now. So the Heat are pretty much a 3-and-D type of team. They like to shoot. They like Bam Lowry and Bam, Lowry, and Butler to create from the mid range to create some either penetration or 3-point shots. They'd like to be very hard, physical, and defensive. But right now, like you said, the Jazz is playing pretty goddamn good. Clarkson's doing amazing things coming off the bench, giving you 14 and 3. Conley's giving you 16. Gobert's giving you 15, 17, 2 blocks still. So obviously, Bam can't handle him, man. They don't know what they're gonna do down there. I think it's gonna be a very physical game. We got a dog late Mitchell giving you 24, and you got Bojan shooting the lights out, giving you 16. I think they're gonna find a way to edge out the Heat. Heat isn't the most consistent team right now, so that's why I give it a 120 to 114 win for the Jazz.
That's good analysis. I like everything I heard from that. Except that last part where he said that the Heat aren't the most consistent team. Because like this year, the last 5 games, especially like the first 3 games of the season, they weren't really consistent. But the last 5 games, they've been pretty consistent. You know, they've been beating guys, you know, by 10 points or more, and they're out rebounding everybody. Their rebounding difference in the last 5 games has been 119 to 86. So they're out rebounding guys in the last 5 games by 40 rebounds, which is significant, very significant. This is the type of game that they're going to need that rebounding, because obviously you got a man in Rudy Gobert on the other side who's pretty much getting like 13 to 15 rebounds a game easily by himself.
Right.
So they're definitely going to need what they're doing this year in that game. This game is being played in Miami, so I think that definitely helps them a little bit more. I think the crowd is going to get into it this game, this early in the season, watching their team be this hot. They're definitely going to be excited. And one thing about Miami, I love what I'm seeing from Kyle Lowry. I wasn't seeing that from him in Toronto, but right now he's playing amazing. He's got like 7 assists a game. That's exactly what they need in this team. They were having trouble getting assists from Goran Dragic last year, and this is exactly what they needed. They needed a big jump start in their point guard play, and they got it. And honestly,
and mind you, it's taken a lot of assists away from Bam Adebayo, which I don't think is a bad thing, because he's basically not even getting 2 assists now in the first couple of weeks of the season when he was getting damn near 5. He's rarely just getting 1. So it goes to show how much that guard play is actually stepped up to where they don't need the ball in his hands.
And I think that's good too, because that keeps the ball moving around a little bit more. It's better to keep it out of the post, the post game and have him play from there. It's a lot slower that way than to have a guy like Lowry either cutting in and passing it out, or, doing some pick and roll play with Jimmy Butler, which they definitely do there. Jimmy's playing amazing right now. We both agree with that. And honestly, the way that the Jazz are looking, like, I don't really want to pick them because they're playing amazing. They're playing really good on the road as well. They're beating most teams on the road by 10 points. But the fact that they're getting such good play from their point guard play, and they're getting consistent shooting from Jimmy right now, I got Miami Heat winning this game, but I got this one pretty close. I got this a 2-point game. It's at home, but I got this in Miami, and I got this one 119-117. I think it's going to be a very close one. Very close one.
Man, another different pick.
Yeah, man.
No, I could see either way.
If it was in, I would have Utah easily probably by 5 to 7 points. But since it's in Miami, I think the crowd definitely has something into it this early. Watching their team be so good this early.
Yeah, we got to see. They're probably going to try to put Jimmy on Mitchell, which will make a difference. But a lot of Bam's points, I feel like, will be deneutralized by Gobert as well. So
I agree. I think Gobert is going to beat up on Bam Adebayo, but I just think that Jimmy's playing and also the play from Kyle Lowry is going to need to beat out Donovan Mitchell's.
Yeah, I hear you. I definitely hear you. So either way, definitely going to be a good game. Both playoff teams for sure. Both teams that are stepping up their game play recently. So definitely want to see that. And that's Saturday night, November 6th. Another good game, November 6th. It's going right to all Eastern matchup. 76ers versus Bulls. Clearly, 76ers are without Ben Simmons still, but at this point, I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself when I say I don't care. I just don't even care. And I'm just so over that situation. Let's just talk about like my man Embiid said. I can only focus on the guys that are here. So let's just focus on the guys that are here. Right now, you got Embiid giving you 28. Yes, not the best season. But I'll be honest, man, he don't need to really turn it up right now. He can give you a 20 and 10, and as long as your role players do what they're supposed to do, they're finding the guard play behind Seth giving you 17 points. They got Tyrese Maxey giving you 14 with 4 assists, and Milton giving you 10 with 3 assists. Seth is giving you 3 assists as well. So they're getting the gameplay going. They got the assist from the guards. The guards are stepping into the roles they need to step to. Seth is playing good, shooting real freaking good. Toby or Tobias Harris giving you 29 and 4, doing a little bit of everything. So I feel like Embiid don't need to give you much more. I feel like that's enough to win most games as long as everyone keeps doing what they're supposed to do and they continue to play or actually step up their defense. Losing Ben Simmons on defense was a big hole, obviously on offense as well. But I feel like that's where his presence is going to be missed the most on that defensive end. Other end of the coin, you got the Bulls, which is a hot team. Obviously, you got DeMar DeRozan giving you 27 and 6. Levine giving you 25 and 5. Both of them are pretty much doing what they want with the ball in their hands. Shooting pretty good from that mid range. Real good ball handling skills coming off them pick and rolls. And obviously both are lethal in the post up. So definitely, I feel like those are the skills that make or break when it comes to playoff matchups. You got to be able to play in between the lines. And both of them are pretty much very effective at doing just that. Lonzo giving you 20 or 12, 5, and 4, a little bit of everything, being more creative and being more useful playing off ball. Crucial coming off the bench, 8 and 4 right now, playing good defense. Right now, that team is giving you a lot of highlight plays. And obviously, you got Vucevic giving you 13, 10, and 4. So I think this is going to be a hard, tough matchup. The guards aren't the greatest at defending, and pretty much, or the wings aren't the greatest at defending. I'm feeling when you got wings that are lethal at scoring on the Bulls, it's going to make for a tough night on night. They're going to have to throw a lot of bodies to try to stop Embiid, and obviously the next best effort is going to probably go as stopping Tobias Harris. So I think DeMar is going to have a tough matchup. Same with Tobias, but I think that just a little bit more people hitting for Philly. Even right now, they got Korkmaz even giving you 10 points a game as well. So they got a little bit more overall team play, which is why I think this is going to be a 105 to 100 win for the 76ers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
105 to 100?
Yeah, definitely going to be a little bit more of a defensive game for both teams. But, it might just break a little under. But I honestly think, I want to say they actually played each other already this year. It might have been the Bulls' loss. But either way, 76ers, I think I'm going to start picking it up.
All right. I mean, that's definitely good analysis. I like that. I mean, you pretty much hit all the points. I mean, obviously, DeRozan scoring has been amazing this year. We talked about the Bulls. We talked about their start. 76ers, obviously, without Ben Simmons. So guys like Tyrese Maxey and Seth Curry definitely had to step it up. And Tyrese Maxey's been playing really good and really consistent. I love what I'm seeing from him. But, I mean, honestly, the way that the Bulls are playing right now, they're playing hot. They're getting scoring all over. And they're getting it from either Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Vucevic when they want. I mean, Vucevic scored 20 points in one of the games two games ago, so they're definitely getting scoring when they want. They're not as great of a three-point shooting team as Philly is right now. Philly's got, more three-point shooters, obviously Tobias Harris and, obviously Seth Curry, of course. So that's one thing that they're going to need to figure out a way to consistently shoot more threes. Maybe Lonzo's going to need to start taking a few more of those. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from Lonzo so far. I know he's not getting the points, but he's getting the rebounds. He's getting the assists. He's getting what he needs. He's even playing really good on defense. He's got over a block a game, so that's something for him. He's definitely playing really good point guard play. And honestly, as far as like the point guard play for the 76ers, I mean, other than Maxley, they're not getting much help. Furkas is playing good. I give that he's playing good.
Milton giving up 10 and 3. They got Shake.
That's it, Shake Milton. And other than that, they're gonna have trouble with that point guard. I think this is gonna be a big game for Lonzo and for DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar DeRozan might have like 35 points this game easily. You pretty much said why is the wings, they're not able to defend in that mid-range area, and that's going to be an issue because DeMar loves that mid-range area. So I definitely see him scoring big. I think this is going to be a little higher scoring game, 115 to 108. Actually, I got this one, but I actually have the Chicago Bulls winning it. I got Chicago Bulls winning this one, bro.
Oh, my God. We should have talked about these games beforehand because we can't seem to grab nothing.
These are all different.
I know.
Different,
so yeah, all different picks. I'll be honest. These next two games better not be different picks. There ain't no way that you're going to pick different than me. But either way, this is another one that can go both ways. Bulls are playing hot. Clearly got role players stepping up. They just off-season pickups are just amazing for them. They built a great team around DeMar and Zach right now at this point. And obviously 76ers are trying their hardest to fill in the hole that was left by Ben Simmons. And to be honest, they're doing a real decent job at filling up that hole. They can't fill it up completely, but they're doing the best they can with the people they can, and those people are stepping up. So I'll be honest, it's another one where I won't be mad at either option. Bulls win, that means they beat another top team in the East, and they're showing that they can belong. 76ers win, then hey, that's what they're supposed to do. Because technically, I don't know. At this point, I think I would say on paper the Bulls are still better. Without Ben, the Bulls actually might have a better roster on paper. So I think so. I'm not even going to say this is a game that the 76ers should easily win because it's really not. But I think that they do. By 5.
Nice.
Yeah. So definitely. So this is the next game where I don't think you can have a different pick than me. But we'll see. So on Sunday, November 7th, we got Hornets versus Clippers. Pretty much no Kawhi with the Clippers, but the Clippers are pretty deep. Hornets show that they can be a nice and exciting team and contend. They started off pretty hot, but they lost a few games recently. Some of those games against top teams. So for me, I think it's going to be a good game. Love what LaMelo's doing this year. He's giving you 19, 6, and 6. Bridges is giving you 24 and 8. They're looking pretty good on the connection. Scary Terry's looking pretty good too, giving you 12, same as Oubre. Both of them give you 12 and 4. And then obviously you got Gordon Hayward. It seems to be the owner's favorite person, as the rumors keep saying, giving you 17, 5, and 4. So you got a very well-rounded team, a lot of young, thirsty young players. And Melo's pretty much the leader of that team, rightfully so, and he's doing what he's supposed to do. But I personally just don't think that they can contend with the Clippers, man. There's a reason why they fell to 5 and 4, because pretty much they're just not consistent. And the Clippers are a lot deeper, obviously a lot more established stars and PG. Right now, they even got Kennard and Batum giving you 12 and 10. Jackson's giving you 16, 4, and 4. Finally, some consistent guard play instead of someone who's just defensive. And then Terrence Mann is doing what he's supposed to do for next man up, giving you 10, 5, and 4. PG's doing amazing this year. He's complaining about the ball. I know he's made a thing, but even then, he's giving you 29, 7, and 4. So he's not trying to make an excuse. A few star players are shooting a little bit less than they want to this year when it comes to percentage. But pretty much I think it's going to be a 13. Nah. No, I think it's gonna be a fucking blowout. I'll go ahead and give them 23 points. 113-90 win for the Clippers. I think they're gonna blow out the Hornets. The Hornets are gonna be middle of the pack in the East for a reason, but they're gonna be able to. They're not gonna be able to contend with some of these deep teams in the West, and they don't have any bigs, but the Clippers don't need any bigs either. So the wings are gonna get roasted by pretty much the wings of the Clippers, and I think Reggie Jackson. I think the only one that actually has a good night is LaMelo. I think everyone else has an off night. Especially Gordon Hayward being guarded by PG. Man.
You might be right there about the Gordon Hayward and PG part. PG's definitely been playing great defense, but I think you're totally wrong everywhere else. You said the Charlotte Hornets are only going to score 90 points. Right now they're literally number one in points in the NBA. They're scoring 114.7 right now. I doubt that they're going to get that low. Their rebounding is really well right now. They're number 2 in rebounding, getting 45 rebounds a game. Clippers are not playing that consistent. They're only at 105 points a game compared to the Charlotte Hornets 114. So you can see that they're not playing great. Obviously, they don't got Kawhi, and that's going to be a big issue for them until they get him back. That's why I said they were my most inconsistent and definitely the most surprising inconsistent team without Kawhi. I just think that the Clippers aren't playing good. They're not shooting the ball well at all. Like, they're not shooting good in the 3-point, 35% right now at threes, 43% from twos, whereas, Charlotte Hornets are shooting almost 40% from 3-point and 45% from. So definitely shooting a lot better on the Charlotte side. We talked about Melo. We talked about Gordon Hayward. He's going to need to step it up a little bit more for sure. And I think he is going to have trouble this game. But a guy like Miles Bridges is definitely going to have a great game in this type of game. I don't think there's anybody down low other than Morris to really keep him from getting what he wants. And I think that they're going to have a really easy time with that point guard play. LaMelo is so much bigger than anyone else they got out there. So I don't think there's anyone that could really match up with him. I think right now the Clippers is very inconsistent without Kawhi. And yes, Charlotte Hornets they came back to earth. They started out hot. Now they're coming back to earth, but they're losing some games that are very close. They're losing by 2, by 5. But in this game, I just think that they got a little bit more than the Clippers do right now without Kawhi. I think overall, if you look at the team with Kawhi, obviously they're way more talented than the Charlotte Hornets. But without Kawhi right now, the way that they're playing, Charlotte's scoring a lot more points than the Clippers. I got this 115-105, a 10-point game. Charlotte Hornets are going to win in LA.
No way. This is the one game like, ain't no way he's going to pick the Hornets over the Clippers. Ain't no way. Wow.
The way that they're playing right now.
We might be off on every pick this week because this next game I don't even know because the way he's going. But no, I hear you. No, I really hear you. The Hornets are a lot more consistent right now. Obviously, they fell to earth, but obviously you got the stats to prove that they're still scoring, they're still rebounding, and they're losing close games. My whole thing is that those close games are against lesser competition. And that's what I'm talking about.
You're right about that, for sure. They're definitely playing lesser games, but they had a chance to be 7-2. They're 5-4 just because they lost 2 games by 2 points. So they definitely have a chance to be one of the top teams right now. They're just not playing consistently, but I think that with the amount of points that they're scoring, they could outscore Clippers.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the Clippers are a little bit deeper. They're coming into their own, learning how the role players need to play without Kawhi. So yeah, I give it to them a little bit, and I just think it's going to be one of those hot games where the Hornets are just off. I think Gordon Hayward has an off game. Same with Terry Rozier, and I think LaMelo's the only one that does a little bit something. Bridges might have at least 15 to 17, but I think that the role players, I think maybe it's another one of those games where man go off.
I don't know. I think Bridges is going to go off. I think he's going to go for like 30.
I think they guard each other, so we'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah. So this last game, we got one more game before we finish the episode. I really want to see if you picked the team I picked. It's pretty much going to be. Yeah, this is on the 11/8, which is on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
Monday night game, and this is pretty much logo Curry versus logo fucking Trey. So obviously that's not really their nicknames, but we're talking about shooter versus shooter. That's why I picked this game. You got Hawks versus Warriors on Monday coming up. Obviously, our Hawks are playing kind of average, doing what they're supposed to do with the team they got. Trey obviously leading the helm with 22-9. Some would say he's having somewhat of a lackluster season due to some shooting struggles. Especially, I know he loved, and I mean loved, being able to jump into shooters or
Yeah,
jump into defenders when shooting. I used to watch him and be like, God damn! Like I personally didn't like how much he actually used it
I think him
because
and
I
Chris are
was
really good at that. Him and Chris Paul are so good at that. They
mm-hmm.
do it.
or trying to keep them behind you and then try to act like they fire you when you stop shooting. So some
Yep.
say that those are some of the issues that he's facing, bringing his point average down. So he got some things to figure out. But he still got the rest of the team to lean on. Clint's giving you 10 and 11. John Collins giving you 15 and 9. Both of your big men doing what they're supposed to do. Obviously, the hoops are nasty. Hunter's establishing himself as a real good perimeter defender and also giving you 13 points a game. Reddish is same thing with 13 and trying to be one of those good perimeter defenders. And obviously, Bogdan's giving you 11 points with his shooting. So that team is pretty much the same team that came back from the playoffs last year. They definitely should be making some noise. I feel like certain teams aren't going to fall over or fall through like they did uh, with the playoffs last year. So we'll definitely see. But I don't think that they beat the Warriors. Steph is over there too hot, man. 26, 7, and 7. Like we already read the stats earlier. Dre got 8, 9, and 7. Poole Wiggins giving you 16 and Damian Lee giving you 14. Looney's doing his thing as well. They pretty much don't even have Clay back, but I think even as of right now, they're 6-1. Beat the Lakers, beat the Clippers, lost by 3 on that only game to the Kings. So at this point, I don't think that they
Yeah.
lose. I don't think that they lose to the Hawks. I think this is like a 8 point win, probably 10 points, but it's probably like 116 to 108, 106. What
Mm.
about you? Please do not tell me you're picking the Hawks to beat the Warriors.
You know what? Nah, I'm not gonna. I agree with you on pretty much everything you said right there. There's not much I need to add. I do want to just add a little bit more about the Golden State Warriors defense. They've been playing very good defense. They're averaging almost 10 assists, or sorry, 10 steals a game this season. Obviously, Curry's getting like 2 by himself, and even uh, Poole is going out there and getting some steals too, like one in 1.2 per game. So they're definitely playing consistent defense, which is helping them, you know, win games. And obviously Curry is playing lights out right now. He's playing
Mhm.
amazing, probably at an MVP caliber. Like, yeah, his points per average, like his point average went down a little bit in the last 3 games, but he's definitely been playing consistent. He's averaging 48% at the three, which is that's him. That's Curry. Obviously, Trae Young is doing work, but his points went down as well this year, 22 points a game. And he's one of the guys that we talked about that he had trouble with the ball. He had an issue with the basketball too. Early in the season, he was saying that he didn't like the feel of it. Um, it wasn't his first choice for basketball. He liked the old school Spalding ball, but he's gonna need to figure it out. But honestly, you pretty much laid the groundwork really well with this game. There's not much more I need to say is other than I just think that the defense for Golden State is better than the perimeter defense for Atlanta,
And
and for that
their
reason, I got
consistency in offense.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that just Steph is going to go off this game, and I got Golden State probably winning 115 to 100. It's going to be a blowout for me, 15-point game blowout.
Yeah, no, I definitely Hawks aren't too hot right now, and like for me the most impressive things about the Warriors right now is how the assists, like the assists that they're getting on offense, and that just lets you know that Draymond Green and Curry are at their best right now. Like I know people, oh, he's like Draymond Green's not getting the stats. Like They're playing great defensively, and they're leading assists. And I promise you that all starts and ends with
Yep,
Draymond Green.
I agree.
So,
Definitely a big part of
and,
that.
and
Definitely
that's what I'm
huge.
saying. You got a lot of other role players shooting well. Andrew Wiggins is becoming better defensively, becoming that 3-and-D player like he's supposed to. And obviously you got that length in the wing. So I think that the Warriors definitely going to win this game. I'm glad you think so too.
The final.
So I know only one, but I think that should have been the easy gimme one. The other ones all are kind of close matchups, which is why we chose them.
For sure.
This one we probably could have found another close matchup, but Trey versus Curry is always one you always got to talk about.
Right. It's always beauty.
Exactly. But that was definitely some good predictions.
Yeah.
That was some good predictions. We got a lot of good games coming up this week. Like I said, I can't wait. Tomorrow's my birthday. We also got UFC, Kobe versus Kamara 2, or Usman versus Covington 2. Another couple good fights on that card, and then Canelo Alvarez versus Plant to unify that division. So we got a lot of good fights, a lot of good football, as our episode just dropped yesterday for NFL, and obviously, as you just heard here, a lot of good basketball coming up. So definitely some good things happening.
Yeah, definitely good to go through the first few weeks of the season, of the NBA season, to see how things are starting to pan out. Obviously coming in from free agency and from the draft, we wanted to see some teams really show what they got, and some of them definitely did, like the Bulls and the Warriors came out hot too, and then other teams like the Lakers definitely haven't been, but we'll see if they can be more consistent in the future. But we appreciate you guys listening to this episode. Went through the recap of the first few weeks. We went through the predictions of the next few games coming up, and we're definitely going to give you some more NBA episodes coming up in the future. And we want to thank you for listening wherever you get your podcasts. And also, if you want to watch this episode in full, please check out our Facebook page and our YouTube page. If you guys got any questions, please check us out on social media.
All right, you already know how we do it, man. We love the support. We love the interaction. Like I said, we're in the midst of it now. Definitely going to be dropping a lot more content, a lot more consistently. We're just going to make sure we keep giving you what you love, as long as you keep telling us what that is. So we appreciate all the love and support, man.
Appreciate you guys. We'll check you guys next time on Who You Got With
Mello
and Rado. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.